Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast Live. Yes. And joining me tonight, as you can see, is my main man, Big Red from the Last Rewind podcast. What's good, Big Red?
What's going on, man? Everything's good over here.
All right. No doubt. So we got some good topics for you tonight. We're going to talk about, of course, Jaylen Brown and whether or not he was snubbed for the third time this past season, this time being not named the replacement for Kawhi Leonard on the men's basketball team for the Olympics. Then we're going to talk Kawhi Leonard and kind of maybe a career retrospective, but not quite. But we're definitely going to talk about Kawhi. Then we're going to get into some ridiculous comments made by Colin Cowherd regarding USA basketball. And finally, Jalen Brunson and his new deal. So we got an all basketball centric podcast tonight. Not going to talk any football, which kind of sucks, but the football is coming. Trust me. So we're going to have that in the near future. And of course, we got the Olympics just down the road, maybe a couple weeks out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? The end of next week is the Olympics, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah. I can't wait for that. Olympic years are some of my favorites. Summertime is normally pretty rough for me once basketball is over, and then there's no football for like a month and a half. So I'm normally dying. But we got the Olympics, and that's going to take care of us. But before we get to any of that, and before we get into our topics, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. Topic, and that is Kawhi Leonard. And the reason that Kawhi Leonard has become a topic, obviously we just talked about, he's the reason that whole Jaylen Brown thing came about. And so Kawhi Leonard, again, he was on the Olympic team. He got pulled out of there, or he decided to step out, or however you want to phrase it, or however you want to portray it or demonstrate. But basically, his injury history makes the Clippers and USA basketball nervous about having him on the team. And so as such, he pulls out of there. And so that got me to thinking, Kawhi Leonard, he just got a new contract, or maybe last year. He just recently got an extension from Steve Ballmer. Let's see what we got. And that was part of the reason that Paul George moved on, because Paul George feels like, why didn't I get the same thing you offered Kawhi Leonard? Because Paul George is not the healthiest of players, but he's been there more than Kawhi Leonard has. And when Kawhi Leonard couldn't go, he did carry them to their first and only conference finals appearance. So Paul George probably has a point on that. But so you got all this going on, and then you see Kawhi Leonard's probably on his last contract. His body simply is not going to be able to hold up. When did he sign this deal? So this year is the first year of a 3-year, $149.5 million contract. So why would you? Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. Why would you give him that? Because even if he threatens to move on, nobody is giving Kawhi Leonard that type of money on the open market, knowing that you can't count on him to be healthy. Like, what are your thoughts on this deal, even before we move forward to the meat of the topic?
I don't get it for a lot of reasons. For one, Kawhi, and Kawhi, he was one of my favorite players. I always rooted for him to have a complete season and show off his skills, and he does have skills offensively and, of course, defensively. He started off defense with Pop, and then eventually his offensive skills started to get better over time. But I wouldn't call him box office. It's not something I was like, well, I got to get tickets to go see Kawhi Leonard. For a fan, an NBA fan, I like seeing them. But for the casual fan, I can't see them like, well, we got to go get some Kawhi Leonard tickets. So I can't see on that front in LA why why would you give somebody a contract because of that? And you go based off of his history.
Mm-hmm.
He's only had 2 seasons, if I remember correctly, of 70 plus games played.
That sounds about right.
And so again, you hear the phrase, see if I got it right. The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
That's not going to come out. I mean, if anybody, any kind of profession, you don't show up the times you're supposed to show up, you don't get a raise.
That's right.
And especially in the most crucial parts, the playoffs.
Somehow
he may play one game, maybe 1.5 games in the first round, and he's out after sitting for 15 to 20 games. So I don't get it. I really don't get it. Still, Steve Ballmer, he's a billionaire. He became a billionaire for a reason, but
that's right.
It's not smart negotiations. Just rebuild, man. Shoot, go get some new pieces. But I can't see keeping just Kawhi Leonard since Paul George is out the door too. I can't see what the purpose of keeping him around is anymore. I don't.
Yeah,
not
because
at this age, especially.
Yeah, because you got James Harden there, but he's not going to give you what you need. That doesn't make any sense, especially not in the playoffs. We know this is a dude that disappears. So, good comment, Nino. I think it's the same thing with the Bron situation. These promises and contracts made way in advance. That's quite possible that these guys could have a whole bunch of handshake deals in place, man. And then, you make these handshake deals with guys, and then you don't adhere to them, and then they get upset, and then they blast you publicly, a la James Harden, Daryl Morey in Philly. So that could happen. So yeah, there may be something to that, but it's just tough, man. I mean, how long
LeBron is at least available though, and he's box office. I give him that. He may not be the same player, but he still puts butts in seats.
That's right. But so the crazy thing is, to your point, Kawhi Leonard, he came into the league as an elite defender. He's that guy, and that's with the Spurs. And he was doing really well with the Spurs, and you can see, these defensive plays here. How he can just, they called him the claw for a reason. Look at that, just snatch the rock from you and take it the other way. But he's very athletic. He's very strong. I love the fact that he became an elite mid-range player, and then he got his jump shot all the way out to being a 40+% three-point shooter. So he developed his game, and oddly enough, remember we were talking about Jaylen Brown earlier and how he was when he came into the league, a defender, and then really did a great job developing his offensive game. He really is Kawhi Leonard light, right? That is the type of player that he is. Ooh, that was vicious. But so you look at it and you say Kawhi Leonard, man, when he was at his best, he was special. But the last time he was able to play regularly was this season here in Toronto, right? When obviously when he took the Raptors to their one and only championship in franchise history. So
he only played 60 games that season too.
Was it only 60?
Only 60, yeah.
Okay. I think they load managed him though. And I think he told them when he went there he wasn't playing more than 60 so that he could be healthy for the playoffs.
Damn. He told him I'm only playing 60. Told your boss, I'm only coming to work 2 days next week.
Man, I wish I could and still get paid. I wish I could. But when you're 6'7" and you won the genetic lottery and you can do things other people can't do, I guess you can get away with that. But yeah, so Kawhi Leonard. So we look at this dude. This is a 2-time Finals MVP, a 3-time champion, right? So I believe a 3-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP. He won 2 with the Spurs, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Twice with the Spurs, one with
the Spurs, one with Toronto. So he's a champion. He's a winner. When he is at his best, he is awesome. Like we mentioned, he can be a lockdown defender. He's super strong, elite mid-range game, elite. He can be a very, very good 3-point shooter. I wouldn't say elite, but he got up to over 40%. So my question for you, Big Red, is when it's all said and done, how do we remember Kawhi Leonard's career? And how do we remember Kawhi Leonard's career? Then we'll go from there.
We're going to remember Kawhi Leonard. It's going to be a very succinct amount of things we're going to talk about him because his career has been very brief. Even though he's played how many seasons has he played?
He's been in the league for a while now.
Since 2011.
It was his 13
he's played about 12 seasons. 12, 13 seasons. But it doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't feel like he feels like he's only been around for about 6 seasons. You can't talk with so much because go look at how much he has scored all time. He's not going to be in the 20,000 range for scores. And, that's usually a heralded place to be for scores is, score 20,000 before you leave this game. He only has 13,000 points.
Right.
Only 13,000 points because he's injured so
many
much.
games. Yeah.
And
wait, he played 68 games last year.
Yeah, he played. That was a high amount for him last year. It's almost like after they put that thing where you can only play a certain amount of games to get MVP.
That's right. Yeah.
It was like, he
65.
heard that and took it serious or whatever. So, I think also is that first team, first team or second team, I think you got to have a certain amount of games to get recommended for that too, right?
65 for any postseason awards or accolades. You got to play at least 65 games. That was the league's attempt to curb load managing.
Right. And he probably heard that because I think a lot of people call that the Kawhi Leonard rule.
Quite possibly.
He want to get that nasty taste off of people's mouth. And once he got to 68 games, so like, okay, I'm out. I'm not going to play in the playoffs. So I did my part. He has 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Yep.
He has 2 MVPs, Finals MVPs.
Yep.
But he's barely played a full career. He's going to get in the NBA Hall of Fame because it doesn't take much. You don't have to do much to get in the NBA Hall of Fame. It's not like the NFL. I don't really respect the NBA Hall of Fame anymore.
It's not even the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame.
International Basketball Hall of Fame.
I think that's what waters it down. I think if you really want to tighten it up, you need to make it the NBA Hall of Fame.
Right. Yeah. Well, he didn't do anything in college that I know of that would, add to his accolades. So, he didn't have an Olympic career because this was supposed to be his first Olympics, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So, Tracy McGrady got in, and Tracy McGrady was good, but I wouldn't call him Hall of Fame good.
Okay, so it's not just me. All right, cool. All right, cool.
Mitch Richmond got in. I wouldn't call him Hall of Fame good. Had a good career.
No, he's Hall of Fame good.
Yeah, it's like anybody can get in there. It's almost like the
Hall of Fame good. He was that dude.
It's almost like the WWE Hall of Fame. Like they put everybody in that thing.
That's a fact.
You just show up one. Snoop Dogg is in the Hall of Fame in WWE and he hasn't done anything. So this is almost the equivalent of the NBA. If you just show up, make a couple All-Star appearances, you may not get in on the first ballot, but eventually you'll get in. I respect Kawhi Leonard. He's an awesome player. He did get the genetic lottery as far as, his skills, his hands, jumping ability, whatever you want to call it. But he also got a bad deal when it comes to osteoporosis because that's also what's affecting his career, I think, right now.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be, it's going to be a polarizing thought about him.
Osteoarthritis.
Yeah. Oh, osteoarthritis. Yeah. And I think it's going to be very polarizing because people are not going to be sure where to rank him all time.
Yeah.
Is he top 30? Is he top 20?
I don't know how you can. That's weird. I don't know. I don't know how you can do it. I did not realize he played 68 games last year. But okay, so this is interesting. I'm just looking at Basketball Reference here. I didn't realize this. Remember, we were talking earlier how he has worked himself into a very good 3-point shooter. So check this out. Kawhi Leonard has a higher career 3-point average than Larry Bird and Reggie Miller. Isn't that interesting?
And he didn't start off as a good 3-point shooter.
No. I don't think he did. Let's see. Well,
yeah, he kind of did. 37%.
His lowest is 31. That's his lowest, and that was a down year. So I mean, he's
9 games that year.
Yeah, he's consistently been very good. That's
wow.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was. I mean, obviously, he can shoot him, and he's not a volume guy with that, but I didn't realize it was that high. Let's see. I'm looking up another shooter here to see what it is. Okay, so he's Kawhi Leonard is what 391 for his career, 39.1% from 3. Glenn Rice is 40%, and I don't think anyone would consider Glenn Rice and Kawhi Leonard in the same stratosphere as shooters, right? Yeah, but again, different game back then, much more defense, blah, blah, blah. Not going to get into that whole thing. So, so the Kawhi Leonard piece, man, this is so interesting. Now that we bring it up and now that we kind of look at the numbers, So it appears that he doesn't play that often because he missed the whole season 21-22. And then he only played 9 games in 17-18. But he's had some solid years, 64 games, 66, 64, 72, 74, 60 that one year in Toronto. Then what, 57, 52, did not play, 52, 68. So it, he has this rep for missing a lot of games, but it's not as bad when you actually look at the number of games played in each season. But still, there's a lot of meat left on that bone, no diddy. And so you just say, man, what could Kawhi Leonard have been if he had, you know, relatively good health throughout his career? He would have had a very special career. And here's the other thing, right?
Mhm.
Isn't the reason that he left the Spurs because he didn't like how the medical staff was treating him and the
Yeah,
organization was thinking that he was dogging it?
yeah,
So if he's healthy this whole time, would he have still been a Spur all this time? The
I
Spurs
think so.
seem to be a very good organization for keeping their guys long term, right?
Yeah,
Tony Parker wasn't out until the very end. Ginobili was there his whole career. Obviously, Duncan, D-Rob. Hmm.
I think he stays a Spur his entire time, if that's the
I think you're
case.
probably right. Yeah. And so if he's a Spur the whole time, the Spurs then everything gets weird. Now you get into the butterfly effect. Are they bad enough to get Wembanyama and all this? Probably
Hmm.
not. Um, And then of course, he's there with Coach Pop. And maybe they make some moves and some trades or what have you, and maybe they win one or two more. Who knows, man? But now we get into the what ifs, of course. And you say if Kawhi Leonard had been able to stay healthy all this time, he probably would have been an all-time great, and especially as a two-way player, he probably gets himself maybe into the top 15 because of his abilities as a two-way player.
Yeah, I dare say he might get in the top 10 as a two-way player. With his skills, I dare would
Mhm.
say he could probably get into the top 10 with some of his performances, especially that Toronto year.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had a very impressive year that year.
Mhm.
Um, that 76ers versus Raptors series, that was a great series.
Yeah, yeah. What did that Toronto year? He averaged 30 in the playoffs and obviously led them to a championship.
Yeah,
Wow. 30
Toronto's first
points,
championship.
30 and 9 rebounds. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. That's a heck of a run. Okay.
His
Wow.
most impressive feat I've ever seen, where he blocked somebody with a finger on a dunk attempt.
I saw that. Man. Yeah, that's why they call him the claw, right?
Yeah,
You know? That's why they call him the claw. But yeah, so man, Kawhi Leonard. It's certain dudes you look at it and it's just a shame that injuries took away what could have been extremely special careers, man. You just like, damn, that could have been different. All right, man. You got anything else to add before we open up these phone lines?
nah, I'm good on.
All right. So 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Give us your thoughts on Kawhi Leonard when you look back at his career. What was he? What could he have been? Do you think he's a Hall of Famer? Yeah, your thoughts. We're waiting to hear from you. Let's get it. Yeah, that playoff run, 30 points, 9 rebounds. He shot what, 38% from 3, 49% from the field. He was killing. Like, obviously, I knew he did his thing, but I'm like, I didn't
Yeah,
realize that he killed like that all the way through.
yeah. He kept Embiid from going to his first finals.
He sure
Well,
did. That was
was it the second
well,
round?
it
It
was
was
the
the
second
second
round.
round.
He
Yeah,
kept
okay.
Embiid from going to the conference finals. Embiid is the only MVP that's never been to the
Hmm.
conference finals, and that's tough, man. I know Embiid got to be tired of hearing that. I'm sure
Yeah,
he wants to get that off of his, off of his record, and hopefully, not hopefully, because he's in the East with my Celtics, but I'm sure he's hoping that Paul George can help him get to where he needs to be, and I'm sure he's hoping that he can somehow stay healthy, which again, highly unlikely, whether it's him or Paul George. So I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting. Gonna be very interesting. No calls on Kawhi Leonard. Okay. All right. Show was just
One
flying by.
one question: where,
Yeah.
as far as small forwards,
Mhm.
where would you rank him on the list for small forwards?
Oh man. Ooh. So people are gonna call me crazy, but I don't care. This is my show. I've never sat and mapped out my list of top 10 small forwards, but I think he could probably be easily a top 10 small forward. My
Yeah.
number one small forward is Larry Bird. Number two
Okay.
is LeBron. Then it starts getting weird because you have Melo, you have KD, obviously you have Dominique Wilkins,
Pippen.
Vince Carter, McGrady. Like that's a strange list. Man, I guess the top three I know for sure is Bird, LeBron, and KD. And then after that, it's kind of Kawhi Leonard's probably in that second half.
Talent wise, would you put him above not durability, but talent wise, would
Okay.
you put him above Pippen?
Yes, but only because he's better on the offensive end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you
Yeah,
think is better defensively? That's an interesting one.
man, that's so tough. That is so tough. So I mean,
I just thought about that.
we saw how great Pippen is defensively, but I think that if you swap them and put Kawhi Leonard in that spot with Pippen, again, health. We're assuming health here. I think if you put him in that spot with Pippen, I think he probably could play a very similar role. I think, man, that is tough defensively. Who, who?
I would say Kawhi, as far as an on-ball defender with people in his positions, shooting guard and
Mhm.
small forward, I think Kawhi would be a better on-ball defender
Okay.
than Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is a better roamer. He
Mhm.
defends point guards better and
Right.
probably up to shooting guard.
Yeah.
And probably some centers or whatever like
Mhm.
that, small centers or whatever like that. But as far as people in his position, small forward and shooting guard,
Mhm.
Kawhi, I think, would be a better on-ball defender.
I think also Kawhi Leonard's his bulk and his strength would help
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
some power forwards and maybe even some smaller centers that like you mentioned. So I think it's really a toss up. I really do, but I think
Yeah.
maybe you gotta, again, assuming health, you gotta put Kawhi Leonard slightly above Pippen because he's a better offensive player. I think. And then Paul Pierce. I have Paul Pierce in my
Oh,
second
forgot
half
about
of my
this.
all-time top 10 small forwards. He's in that 5 through 10 range somewhere. I think Paul Pierce was a problem, and I think it's because he probably knew he didn't quite have the athleticism of some of these other guys. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't as strong as Melo. He wasn't as quick as he wasn't as athletic as a Dominique. He wasn't as explosive as a LeBron, or he couldn't quite shoot like Bird. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
distribute the ball like Bird. But Paul Pierce, whenever he played against other guys that who are supposed to be better than him,
Mhm.
he would hand out some work, kind of like a Jaylen Brown,
Yeah.
And so Paul Pierce, I think definitely he's in that 5 to 10 somewhere in the top 10 small forwards all time. Pistol Pete probably gets in there as well.
Okay.
Maybe Vince Carter also. Man, that small forward list is tough.
Yeah. Did you say Dr. J? I couldn't remember if you heard
Oh
me
my
just say
gosh,
that.
how did I forget? Thank you. Okay. That was disrespectful. So Dr. J, clearly he's got to be in that front half of the top 10 small forward list. So KD and then Dr. J. So maybe Dr. J at number 4 at small forward, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to write this down because
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
lot. I didn't even think about it was this many.
Bird, LeBron, KD, Dr. J. Sound about right? Dominique. It's the
Yeah.
top 5 small forwards.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, and
tough
then
though.
yeah,
Because
then that
Dominique
second
didn't
half.
play defense, but he was great on offense though.
Man, was he? Was he? I feel you. That's a man. That might be an exercise we got to do another time.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good topic for a show there.
no doubt, no doubt.